So Matthew's Christmas story is the one that you should read when the children have gone to bed. Adult viewing only, some content may offend, should read the caption across the TV screen. Our Christmas card cut-out version of the three kings on camels is actually nowhere to be found in Scripture. The camels belong to Isaiah, and the tradition that there are three kings or three wise men is assumed by the three gifts they bring. We don't actually know there are three of them. And while they do visit Jesus in Jerusalem, and while they do visit Jesus in Bethlehem, there is no stable and no manger. Sorry to be the Christmas killjoy. Matthew's Christmas story is really very dark and very political. King Herod was a tyrant. He was Rome's puppet king from about 37 BC to 3 or 4 BC, and he ruled through fear and imprisonment and tortures and massacres. He was one nasty piece of work. He was fiercely loyal to Caesar, that's Augustus Caesar, and he built many great buildings across Judea in homage to Rome and its emperor. He had this incredible building plan that went on all through his reign. And he also rebuilt the temple in Jerusalem, which was very important and crucial to the people of Israel, and rebuilding the temple was a wonderful thing for them, except that he did things like, at the gate, he placed a golden statue of an eagle, the symbol of Rome, and in direct contravention of the commandment to have no idols to worship, and certainly no images within the temple. So when Matthew writes at the beginning of his Christmas story in the time of King Herod, it's not just a way of giving us a historical date. It's a way of setting the scene for his readers. In the time of King Herod, the people of Matthew's community knew what that meant. That little phrase carries a massive weight. In our visual world today, we would immediately imagine maybe a movie of soldiers dragging away the innocent, or maybe a news report from Syria of children being bombed. If we heard that phrase, that would be what we would automatically think. And then straight away, we're told in the same sentence that wise men came from the east. Now, the Greek word is magos, from where we get the word magi. And magi were many things. Some of them were astrologers, some of them were magicians, some were interpreters of dreams, and some were political advisors in the courts of Persia. Makes me think of wizards from Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf and Saruman. You know, they were kind of key players, they were advisors of the political leaders, and they were able to wield their own magic for good or ill. I think our magi are a bit like Gandalf or Saruman. And these mysterious, powerful figures arrive in Jerusalem, note, not Bethlehem, and they ask to find the one who was born as King of the Jews. Now, everyone in Jerusalem knows Herod is King of the Jews, and a king who guards his power very closely. And so Herod, we are told, was frightened, or probably more accurately, troubled or disturbed. These powerful, mysterious figures suddenly appear in his realm. What was this potential challenge to his power? And all of Jerusalem was troubled too. I bet they were. The ruling elites would be worried about this news. Did it mean a shift in power? And as for the ordinary people, well, they knew if Herod was threatened, it would only end badly for them. Who might he choose to lash out at this time? So Herod consults his scholars, who tell him that Bethlehem is to be the birthplace of the longed-for Messiah, and so he calls the Magi to him in secret, so he's not seen to be kind of consorting with them, and he sends them off to Bethlehem. And he says, "Come back and tell me where the king is born, so I can come and worship him too." But the Magi distrust Herod, and they hear in a dream that they should not return to Jerusalem. And then if you carry on reading from where the lectionary cuts us off today, Herod, furious at their deception, orders the murder of all children under 2 in Bethlehem. He figures that it's going to have taken a couple of years for the Magi to travel, and so to be on the safe side, he orders the massacre of children. Matthew thus invokes the memory of Pharaoh's slaughter of the children in Egypt and Moses' miraculous survival. And Jesus and his parents do indeed survive and escape to Egypt. So from the beginning, Matthew writes a political story. Jesus is the one who threatens the rulers of Judea and the rulers of Rome. The Magi who come from the east are Gentiles from another political realm. And they manage to get to the heart of Jerusalem, to Herod himself, with their threat and their story of this new king. This new king who turns out to be a baby, but who is offered gifts fit for a king, gold and myrrh for burial. He will always disrupt the status quo. Matthew's message to the powerful is beware of this one. Beware of this one who comes, and when he does come, who will proclaim a new kind of kingdom. So how do we hear Matthew's story today as the attention of the world turns to the inauguration of a new president in the United States? A president who could not be more different from his predecessor, Barack Obama. Will President Trump be a Herod? People are certainly fearful that he might. The Episcopal Church in the USA is finding itself caught in quite a difficult position in these weeks. There is traditionally a service at Washington's National Cathedral on the day after the inauguration to pray for the new president and the administration. I remember watching the ones for President Obama on TV. Many wondered if this year Washington Cathedral might decline to hold the service because the cathedral has a strong legacy on issues of justice, race, and equality. But the service is going ahead as usual. They haven't said anything publicly, but the kind of chatter going on behind is prayer is not endorsement, and Mr. Trump is, after all, America's duly elected president. They do know, though, that many tyrants started out life as elected leaders. Other churches are making statements of commitment to support immigrants and work against hate speech. St. Mark's Cathedral in Seattle has issued a statement which includes these commitments. They say, "We will go deeper in faith, we will listen, we will lift up the truth, we will reject white nationalism, we will love our neighbours by protecting them from hate speech and attacks. We will welcome the stranger as our scriptures instruct. We will defend religious liberty. We will work to end misogyny. We will fight for climate justice. And we will protest with our best values." It's an interesting statement to read in full. They are starting with themselves. They're going to go deeper, they're going to listen, and then they're going to commit themselves to follow gospel values and to enact them. Like the people in Seattle and people in different churches across the states, there's not a lot that they can do now about President Trump, and there's certainly nothing we can do. But we can start with ourselves, and we can then call our government to be vigilant, to speak out on the side of justice in an international forum, and to be very vigilant about what is going to happen now in the United States. Our government just took a strong stand at the UN with the UN resolution on the Israeli settlements in Palestine. We can take brave stands like that with a voice for justice. Because the Herods of our world gain power and keep power when the people are silent. Herod was terrified of that baby that was born, the baby that elicited the homage of strangers from the east. But they brought gifts that spoke of his future. People would claim him as king, that was the gold. They would worship him, the frankincense, and they would bury him, myrrh. And yet he would bring a different gift, a lasting gift, the gift of hope promised by the prophets. The prophet Isaiah said, "Arise, shine, for your light has come. Darkness may cover the earth, a thick darkness, but lift up your eyes and look around, for the light has also come." So let's bring hope with us as our new year begins. Bring hope grounded in the deep knowledge of our God, who was born in the midst of political turmoil and fear and was never, ever overcome.